Hello, my name is Dr. Alexis Wolf, and I'm the author of Transnational Women Writers in the Wilmot Coterie, 1798 to 1840, Beyond Borders and Boundaries. The book is a case study of women's writing in the late 18th century, looking at how women used travel writing, transnational networks, and writing within knowledge genres to participate in different intellectual discussions going on in the 18th century. It's transnational because it looks at both provincial sites of knowledge in Ireland and in Britain, and then looks more broadly to international networks in France and in Russia. I was inspired to write this book by the incredible corpus of writing that was left behind by Martha and Katherine Wilmot, who are two relatively unknown women from the kind of upper middling class of the Irish Protestant writing community in the late 18th century. They had connections to more well-known women writers like Lady Mountcashel, Helen Maria Williams, and later Princess Dashkova of Russia, all through their travels both within Ireland and in Europe and Russia more broadly. The most amazing thing about the Wilmots was the collection of writing that they left behind. So the archive that they have surrounding them that you can still see in America, in Ireland, in Scotland, and in England was just too incredible not to write about. I felt it was important to share the story of the Wilmots because although their travels and their relationships with significant women in history made them fascinating and remarkable, and indeed made it so that their writing was kept and saved over generations and centuries, I believe that they are emblematic of what women were doing in the period. So they were writing diaries, letters back home, journals, commonplace books, but they were also engaging in important knowledge genres and other kinds of practices at the time. So they were writing history, they were translating, they were self-educating, learning French, Italian, Russian through their travels. They were participating in early forms of ethnography and what would later come to be known as anthropology. And you can see all of this really clearly in their work, and I write about this in the book, and how over time, the more that they learned and the more they traveled, the more they used manuscript culture as a way to insert themselves in these transnational dialogues. Eventually, this work culminated in Martha going on to edit the memoirs of Princess Dashkova and including both sisters' travel writings as appendices to the back of the book. So it validated their manuscript writing and helped them to become published authors. For Katherine, that was posthumous and after her lifetime. For Martha, it was at the end of her life. I hope that readers will take away from my book that women who were not necessarily elite or were from the kind of middling or upper middling class were doing really incredible things in the 18th century. And just because we don't have necessarily all the evidence of everything that every woman was doing, because there was no reason for those records to be kept, doesn't mean that they weren't participating in and indeed intervening in some really important discussions that were happening in the development of knowledge in the period.